The Warriors, good NFP day. Nvidia's out. Dollar really got strong yesterday. Maybe 102 is back on the table for the dollar. Maybe 102.90. Anyway, I want to talk about Nvidia. How are you, Steve? Blake, how are you, buddy? Happy NFP
Morning,
day to
Coach.
you. Uh, Mike, Brand, why the hell not? Good one, man. AJ, Hugo came in. Ingmar, John, how are you? Kurt, hey, Ryan, good. Rob, AJ, Kale, nice to meet you. Welcome to Face. Hi, Laura, Timothy, Simon. Good to see your name, Simon. Hello. And Glenn. Okay, so a lot to get to before we get the number. And, let's talk about the momentous earnings report that we had from NVIDIA and what my thoughts are, and then I'm going to go to the team. So, well, here's a euro under pressure, but let's start with NVIDIA. Okay, so when things can't get better, which is what that earnings report was, when you have your inventory sold out and this kind of beat, I thought that we could get some type of ABC maybe back towards 200. This is 61.8. So again, when you hear that things can't be better, then maybe they can't. So I think it's a sell here at 61.8 and still think that even if this is just one big A, B, C for B, and we get a C wave, that we could still trade 150, which would be 1.618 of this from here. So I'm not impressed by the move that we had. We had a lot of short covering, and to me, it's a sell. So, okay, let's get to currencies, which I was on the wrong side of. Start with Ryan's here today. So, Ryan, were you surprised with that the euro got this weak? And I don't know, I really don't have a trade. I can't get short here. And, I already tried the long side. I'm not sure what to do. So can you guide me?
Of course, mate. Of course. If we didn't
Okay.
have NFP in 27 minutes, I might be looking at 115 for a little go because that's one of my big old levels.
Okay.
It's surprising and not surprising why the dollar strengthened. Some of that, or pretty much a lot of that, was driven by the fact that the October NFP was confirmed as we're not getting it, but some of the October jobs data will come with the November number, but that release is going to be after the December FOMC. So the market is
Okay.
not going to get an NFP after this one until after the FOMC, which has got the market thinking we were 50-50 on a
Right.
rate
Okay.
cut, but
Yeah.
now we're not getting the data. There might not be the justification for the Fed to cut rates. So the more
Okay.
likely outcome is a hold. So we've seen rate expectations now moving towards staying on hold, and that's brought a bit of a reprice.
Okay.
There's probably a bit of position squaring ahead of this number, the first big number since the shutdown. So yeah, this could be anything. If it's a big number, we could be back above 116. We could be down at 114 over this number. So yeah,
Okay.
not a trade for me here either until I see the numbers.
Okay. Um, let's talk about the rocket ship. So do we have to go back to um, where we've had intervention before? We're almost there,
Yep.
Here,
Yeah.
this was a successful intervention. I think this was an intervention too, or they did it again. Anyway, uh, looks like we could challenge this level here. I think we're already over it.
We're near two levels. Okay, so that last high up in the 161s, the Bank of Japan's yen index dropped below 75, which was part
Okay.
of the reason why they intervened. Today, we're at 75.23, having been at 76.20s coming into this week. So that's dropped significantly. So we are getting close to that level where the overall yen is weak enough that they intervened last time, and we're getting close to the price level in dollar yen where they intervened last time. So the stars could align for them to do that. And this data could spring them into action. You know, if it's good numbers and we see a rally up to over 158,
Yeah.
they might decide they need to hit the button.
Okay. They don't have to worry about Besant because I think President Trump threatened to fire him.
Yeah, little gag there
Anyway,
from the Orange Man.
the only adult in the room. If that happened, I don't think the market would like it. It's probably
No,
just some hot air, and who
he was
knows?
kidding. Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway,
but if he did, that would be a big deal because I think the market sees Besant as as you say, the only adult in the room
yeah,
at the moment. But in Japanese terms, we've had another Bank of Japan member seemingly hopping off the fence, going to the hawkish side, in calling for hikes. So we're creeping there as well, and expectations for them in December are creeping up as well. So, but it's hardly going to stop the steam train in the end.
yeah. This was really tricky, wasn't it? It took out these lows, and now could look okay for another move if the dollar has taken out uh, 200. No, yeah, it's a 200-day moving average. We're above
Yeah.
on the daily. So,
That dollar CAD hit my level, went under by about 3-4 pips at 39.78
okay. So you got
yesterday
it?
or Tuesday. No, I'm not been looking at it, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, Dale. I've been doing all this
Yeah.
trading analytics stuff, but yeah, it hit
Oh,
that
yeah.
level pretty
Yeah.
much on the nail, and then it's bounced from there. This is one I'm probably going to look at trading the NFP if I decide to have a trade. I want to steer clear of the pound. I want to steer clear of the yen. So that this is going to be
I
this
wish
and
I
maybe the
had.
euro.
I wish I had
Well,
stayed
you
clear of
win
the
some, you
end.
lose some, mate.
I
You
mean,
didn't.
yeah, right. I mean, K-Man was all over it, that you don't step in front of something like that. And any other comments? I mean, Aussie, we're getting close to this, to me, the 64 and a half, I know, on the weekly, 64 is a big deal,
Yeah,
but 64 and a half looks like a big deal too.
64.40
Yeah,
was a big level on the way up. If you look at sort of that March period, you've got all those highs where we couldn't get through it there,
yeah,
and
yeah,
64.40. So
yeah,
yeah, big level. It's been on the way down as well. But this one, it finds it easier to go down than go up at the moment.
yeah,
But then you look at Aussie Kiwi, and that's still holding up very, very well. So
yeah, it
I'm
is.
interested in that one up to 116. See if we get
And
another look up to those early November highs.
and where's your head at on Europound?
Euro pound, that's all about the budget. We're a week
Yeah,
away now,
okay.
so I don't, unless there's a big move, speed move in cable and the euro. Um, this one is just going to react to UK headlines, and then we'll see what happens next week, and whether I'm staying in my longs or running to the hills.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. It's
Thanks,
always
mate.
you're always a missing piece when you're not here. So great to
Missing
have
link.
you. Yeah, oh yeah, you're quick and well for me it's a morning anyway. But thanks, some good insight. Let me ask you, do people have guesstimates on this fabricated number?
No, we haven't got an NFP competition this
uh,
month.
uh,
Yeah, I couldn't get it up in time, but
yeah.
yeah, spin the
Okay.
wheel, mate.
Do you, are there guesstimates in the market of what they're looking for?
We're looking between 51, 53,000 across the two main calendars, Reuters and Bloomberg.
Okay. Thank you, buddy.
No
Good morning,
worries.
K-Man, Mr. Yen.
Morning, Dale. Morning, everybody.
Okay, so Any comments on currencies that you want to talk about that, or has Ryan
Uh,
covered it pretty good?
no, you guys have covered already quite a bit there. Yeah, I think trading wise, I'm looking euro dollar could be a cleaner one indeed. Heavy if good number and quite big if it's a bad number because euro crosses traditionally upward slightly upward a bit up if it's a really bad number. So euro dollar could get a bit of a double headwind or double tailwind depending on how the risk market looks at this number coming out. And then, yeah, I'm going to be a bond follower because, as I've been saying so many times, it's one of the first real numbers that money managers are going to get to put in their models, and I think the bond market will be a very decent driver of what we are going to see after the data.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, this rectangle looks like it wants to break out to the
Yeah,
upside.
but it will, yeah, it'll have to, right?
Yeah,
To get things really moving. Because imagine that you go to 420, 25 and then come back to 410. I mean, you might as well
yeah,
put your pencils down until the next FOMC. Um, on the rest, yeah, I mean, I that's yeah. Aussie dollar has been Aussie and Kiwi are still relatively weak brothers, but Aussie could be reacting quite nicely also on risk off. I have a big zone around 64 figure a quarter. That's if
yeah.
ever we would get to test down there, um, that's gonna be a good one. Other currencies, it's a bit of a guesswork, you know. The thing is, I'm looking at gold all the time. It's been extremely whoppy between, let's say, low 40s and 41, 10, 25. If it's a real bad number, I think that's going to go for a walk higher.
Okay,
And if it's good, then we will have to look at what's happening around 40, 4,000, 4,030, if it holds again or not. So that's those are the ones that I'm really looking at. And then
okay,
the rest will be a bit of a risk play. I'm still long a bit of Euro Swiss, but I may make a decision today, depending on how risk reacts to the numbers. If it's positive risk, it's probably going to go for a bit higher again. Up to that, yeah, 93, 20, 30 probably. And then, but if it's a risk, if it's a bad for risk number, I'm probably going to let the rest of mine go and then see what happens.
okay. Yesterday I was talking about the gold silver ratio could put in a higher low, which is,
Yeah.
exactly what it did.
Mm,
We were here,
yeah.
okay, and silver was here
Let's see.
with this little
Those moves,
candle.
I mean, they don't look spectacular on a longer term chart. But I mean, if you look at it, you're doing 4 or 5% moves in a day.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's wild, right? Well, wild. Okay, yes and
yeah,
no. We know the problems in silver, but those are big moves, right? If
yeah.
you're really engaged in something, yeah. For that one, I'm going to leave it alone unless we break back below that 49, 20, 30, and or 52.5, right?
Okay. All right. So, any comment on risk? We're back above the
Back above.
breakdown here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Huang.
Whatever. NVIDIA.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but that as well. I think it will be on the move on the NFPs as well because this NFP number, whether it be messy or not, it will have an impact on risk, right? So we may see a bit of a move, and I'm thinking about a kind of positive correlation between um, numbers, dollar, and risk, which is a bit counterintuitive, but
Right.
if the number is good, dollar will get support. but also I think
Stocks
the
will.
stocks will get on maybe, and I'll go deep lower, but then we'll get support because it is good for the US, you know. I don't, and vice versa.
Okay. So the bonds again, could be very close to this important level.
Yeah,
So, 88.5 is the level.
88
So,
now.
yeah, that's its line right here.
What is that? 0.5% away?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, not much. There's a
Mm,
weekly.
yeah.
So you could see if we start
What a
taking
range.
this out, yeah, we could maybe trade 86 again. Or anyway, I don't think they're acting great. So I think they need a number to help them.
Yeah,
And the 10-year, it almost looks like the 10-year wants to spike,
yeah.
maybe up to here, maybe 430 or so, and then maybe we get the decline. So that's kind of telling me we're going to get a good number. Anyway, we'll see what happens. I think it's time to hand it over to the master technician. And do you know who that is, K-Man? The master?
I guess I can't see Greg
BM?
around, so
Oh yeah.
let's bet on Blake.
All right, that's a good one, man. That's really a good one. So, good morning, Blake. Go ahead,
Hey, good
buddy.
morning, guys. Yeah, master. Well, I don't know about that. And you know,
I did.
it's almost situations like this when when you really don't have a lot of conviction. At least I don't.
Yeah,
It makes it a little bit more difficult. You know, there are times when you have clarity in the markets and you're like, look, I'm full on, extremely bullish or bearish right now, and it's choppy. I don't feel like much of a master technician at this point because it is messy in the markets. I was,
it's
just looking
early.
at yeah, I mean, look at the euro. I mean, the euro's been in this, really tight like 200 pip range literally since October. I mean, it's difficult, and but I think the clarity is you have the dollar index, and this is something I was just reading just a moment ago, and I'll kind of tell you guys what I was reading just a second ago, but just before we start our show. But the dollar index is above the 200 DMA today, or yesterday it closed above the 200 DMA, first time since March.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a big deal. And what's going to be a bigger deal is if we break through this range high, because then you have a range extension that puts us at 104. So,
yeah,
you think about like the damage it could do on a rally. And I was just reading some bank research from ING saying, the euro sell-off is oversold.
yeah,
I mean, how many deniers are you going to get if the euro trades, from 115 to 113 to 112?
yeah,
That's an unexpected move. That's a move that the market wouldn't think is happening, and you're going to see people fight it tooth and nail if it does happen. And you have like the other trade that I think is a really big deal to me right now is if the euro breaks down, what happens to the Aussie? The
yeah,
Aussie is just, sitting on its 200 DMA. We tested it yesterday. It looks vulnerable. How about if the Aussie starts breaking down towards, 63, 62 cents? I don't think many people are expecting that type of move. And this is the kind of market that I think could catch people off guard. Speaking of off guard, I shorted the dollar yen yesterday into Asia, thinking, okay, well, if the BOJ is going to say something, maybe they'll say something. They didn't, so I stopped myself out. Took my loss because why can't the dollar yen see 160? I mean, K-Man, Ryan, do you guys think the dollar yen's capable of seeing 160 right now?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
what's stopping it? K-Man, you see anything that's going to stop the dollar yen to
No,
160?
no, I don't see anything that's going to stop the yen from weakening. Whether it's dollar yen will depend on data, probably on US data, but I mean, there is nothing. We were talking about that like literally minutes ago again in the Flow Flownomics room. And there is nothing to, apart from interventions, there is very little to stop it. Even if the Bank of Japan raises a 0.25% in December, that's even going to make the government finances in theory worse. And then they are going to be forced to start buying unscheduled JGBs again, and then have a guess what's going to happen to the yen in that case. So I mean, apart from interventions, there's not a lot that is going to stop it right now. The thing is, looking at where the yen levels are, and Ryan he looks at this Bank of Japan yen level every day. We are in the red alert zone, and so we cannot exclude anything today, tomorrow, regarding interventions. But they are going to have to go very hard to stop this, because they're
So
putting all those packages in place, which is just going to water down the yen.
I was gonna say, so look at, I mean, look at JGBs and look at the 10-year, well, you got 10-year yield, 30-year yields. I mean, these are massive moves.
Yeah, these
What
are
is
big
that
moves.
telling? What's that?
And these are big moves. And
Yeah.
and where people used to trade, and that's again we need to talk about broken down correlations. Those people trading the yield differentials between Japan and the US, for instance, or Japan and any country, you should not be selling yen on the yield differentials. And yet the market cannot buy a single yen right now because of the fiscal overhang. And that's where this thing is. If they let it go, I don't know where we stop in yen, but it's going to be a massacre for the yen if they let it go.
Yeah, I was gonna say if they let it go, I mean, with yields rallying like this, wouldn't you expect that at some point the yen would firm up? You would think,
It's not
right?
going to be in a natural way. I can't see it happen, because that is exactly what is happening, is the broken down correlation. What's happening in the yen market now is happening is similar to what happens in the gilt market in the UK. If gilts drop, sterling drops. If gilts rise, sterling rises, and JGBs are dropping. So that's your overlay. That is your correlation right now. But I
Yeah, so just to clarify here, just so you guys can see it, this has not always been the case. You
oh
used to
no,
see, yeah, you
no,
used to
absolutely not.
see the inverse before, but now it's like I think you said it perfectly. It's very similar to the UK situation where you got yields ripping, gilts plummeting, and the sterling gets killed at the same time. So,
Could
which is
happen here one day, Blake.
it could, and that's the scary. That's one of the scary things that I was, I was on high alert. We were all on high alert. What was it, a year ago? Was
Yeah,
it less? Is it a year ago or less than a year ago when, you had the dollar going down, bonds going down, stocks
yeah,
going down, and we're like, holy shit, it's sell the United States at this moment.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So anyway, I don't know why futures have just come down a little bit, but they did. Not sure why that just happened.
Oh, if it's Bloomberg coming out with those comments from Ray Dalio, saying that he believes the US has a debt problem, it's only the 15th time he's repeating
Yeah.
it.
Right. It's like, is that really news? Is that newsworthy that's gonna, hit the market? I don't know about that. Okay, well, let's talk really quick about what we're seeing, elsewhere. We got currencies that are, ready for the jobs report. We're gonna get into that here in just one second. The S&P, we've had a decent recovery, because of Nvidia. So it looks like this Gartley pattern. That was the Gartley pattern that mattered. One of the things that I do want to say is we have the 618 retracement. We also have horizontal resistance. It's right here,
Yeah.
that I think is going to be really critical for the S&P today. But we've gotten a bounce. It's still pretty sloppy. Nvidia's. I know, Dale, you said you're selling Nvidia. I can't really disagree just because of the level that you're pointing out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wouldn't be aggressive unless you break back below 180. 180 is the level where I think that's where things
Yeah.
get, like anybody who bought Nvidia today, let's say by the end of the day, because obviously it's the price action a couple of days post earnings, because you can
Right.
see what's happened, following earnings, you can see, the stock, bid up and then it sells off, bid up and then sells off, bid up and then sells off. If we're bid up here and then we sell off in the
Yeah.
days following, below 180 is where it gets like,
Yeah.
that's where you catch everybody with their pants down. They're
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I bought Nvidia post earnings and now I'm getting crushed.
I
So I
like
think,
that 154 number that you have there, and it's not a fib. What is it? Like
no, this is
underneath
just
them?
a horizontal 164. It's a horizontal support. Just
Okay.
it's just where things would turn
But you have a
decisively bad.
154.50 right underneath it.
Oh, that was from the previous high, the previous
Oh, got
all-time
you.
high. Yeah,
Oh,
back
okay.
here.
All
Yeah.
right, got you. All right.
Yeah, so this is the last big move that we saw lower. We overblew the 161%
Yeah,
extension. So, but like I said, if you're out selling Nvidia today, you add below 180. If you're going to add, you kind of go light here and
right.
say, okay, well, I know my exposure. I don't want to, I don't want to risk a whole lot, but then you can get aggressive and step on their necks below 180. The way I
Well,
look
that's
at it.
why, yesterday I said I covered half of my semi shorts. And the plan was if, it went my way, I'm still there,
Yeah.
right? Not as heavy. And if it goes the other way, it gives me firepower to
Yep.
recommit what I pulled off. So
I'm with you, Dale. I actually sold some S&Ps 2 days ago, a
yeah,
little lower, but not
yeah,
a
you've been
lot
trading
lower.
it great. You've been trading S&Ps great from the top.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I went in yesterday, short. I'm short, like right here at 66.70, like literally pretty close to where we're at. 50 handles. It seems like it's close. It is actually close in this volatility, but I wasn't going to get aggressive unless we got a break below these lows, and I
Yeah,
still will add lower
right.
with momentum because I know that everybody's got long stocks yesterday, last night, today.
Yeah.
I know everybody's getting long today. So if it turns south by early next week, end of the week, maybe even tomorrow, maybe after this jobs report, who knows? Speaking of which, we got 3 minutes until jobs. Ryan, I know you said you're keeping an eye on the Canadian. Me too. I actually just got out of my dollar CAD. I've been long a couple of times over the last couple of days, but I really want to buy the dollar CAD again on a good number. What else are you looking at?
Maybe euro dollar, but I'm really looking to wait till I see the numbers and just react. I'm certainly not going to be positioning in front of it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm watching the private payrolls and matching that against the headline.
Yeah, and you talked a lot about that in the chat room, guys. If you're not in the Forex Analytics chat room and having these conversations where Ryan gives us a big explainer why he's looking at, the private jobs report. If you don't understand this information, you have to be in the Forex Analytics chat room. It's $1, 10 days. Come try it out. Have these conversations with Ryan in there so you understand what he's referencing. Okay, man, we got just about 2 minutes. What are you thinking right now?
Yeah, as I said before, I think euro dollar could be one of the cleanest. I'm just wondering if Besson and Katayama are on the phone right now, just to watch the numbers together. But and the other one, as I said before, gold. But that's in case the number comes far away, better or worse. I think gold could be a trade as well. But same, I'm not proactive. I'm reactive on those data because it could get a little bit messy.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of which, we're less than a minute out, but we got jobs reports. We've got weekly unemployment claims finally.
What's
Are those coming out? Participation rate, average hourly earnings, all sorts of crap.
We
So
don't know about the claims. I mean, there's
yeah,
all sorts of different information.
yeah. So as these, I mean, we don't know what we're going to get until we get it, but we do know we're going to get September data in just a few seconds. So we've got 30 seconds. Dale, you have any last minute thoughts?
Yeah, Nvidia was the third sigh of relief for the market. The first were the two Fridays where it recovered. This is the third. So everyone feels all is clear. I don't think so.
All right. Well, I don't think so. Um, so watch these. Here's the private private data here. Here's the jobs report. Forecast is around 50,000, and we got 119,000.
119.
Strong number. Yep.
Yep,
That's
that's a
what
good that's a good number.
that's what the 10-year was saying. So we should be popping out that triangle. Not
Yep.
really much yet, huh?
No, we're not seeing
Or
much
15.
reaction at all. So the euro is gone a little, not really moving at all. How is it? And I think
Nothing's moving.
no. What's up with that? Because stocks have a positive response right now.
The unemployment rate did tick up to 4.4%. Looking at all the breakdown, government jobs, that was up 22K. So that was okay. Wages, a little bit hotter.
Why is the dollar getting hit?
No idea. Maybe the market got a little bit too one-sided in its reprice since yesterday.
On that, yeah, I mean, maybe got too excited there. Who knows? I mean,
This
well,
dollar is tough trade.
last month's NFP got revised from up 22 to down 4K. So maybe that's what's doing it.
okay. Is that last month's or is that August data? I mean,
I'm
because
so
that's
confused.
it is confusing. It's
Can you-
confusing.
Can everybody hear that silence in the markets?
Huh?
Right. I mean, look at yields. Yields have come off pretty hard. S&Ps are rallying here, but
Wow.
then, like I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. But stocks are
S&P is
enjoying
like
it.
Yeah.
Stocks are enjoying the data. Then that's happening. So maybe that is I don't know.
Like
I don't
the
know what to
Fed's
make
gonna
of it. I
ease.
mean,
Yeah.
Jobless claims were okay as well, 220,000. So that was fine. Canadian PPI data was a little bit warmer on a couple of the metrics. I don't know what's going on.
Maybe Katie could understands everything.
Someone needs to.
yeah. So maybe Katie can make some sense out of maybe what she'll do is she'll probably say, you know what, scrap everything. Look at Bitcoin,
charts.
realize that Bitcoin's below 93,000 and it looks like crap, and don't fall for it. Maybe that's what she's going to say. So let's find out what Katie has to say. So, hey guys, I want to thank everybody for being here. Make sure you stick around for one of my favorite technicians around, and I know it's one of Dale's too. Katie Stockton's here in the house. So Dale, have a great interview. Ryan, K-Man, thank you guys for being here and every day on the Flow Show too.
Yeah,
Cheers,
guys. Thanks for hanging out during Sounds of Silence for 5 minutes before we got a delayed reaction. So anyway, thank you, Dream Team, and welcome, Katie Stockton. How are you?
Thanks, Dale. Good morning. I'm good.
Uh,
Hanging
yeah, I
in there.
was sure today was the day. I had a mental lapse a month ago. So great to have you back, Katie. We've gone through this, I guess, corrective period. A lot of sighs of relief with 2 Friday recoveries, and
Mhm.
this week it didn't follow through, and we're getting a bounce mainly based upon Nvidia's earnings yesterday. And I was taught that when companies or something couldn't be any better, that they're right. It couldn't be any better. So it's probably a sell, because if it couldn't get any better, maybe it's not going to get better. Okay, so we have your cloud here. So the first pullback held the bottom of the cloud. What
Yeah.
do you think? What are you thinking here?
So, well, the breach of the 50-day was certainly a setback, but for us, the cloud is more important as a support metric, and you can see it's
Okay.
basically in line. These are the S&P futures. But what I
Okay.
wanted to show here was more that not only do we have support, but also the daily stochastics that we track for overbought, oversold, got oversold for the first time since April. After a whole lot of noise. so,
Right.
so this does, set up the market for a bounce that should last a few days. The
Okay.
reason, we expect it to be fleeting, we kind of think this is maybe the B wave of a correction, is simply because the loss of intermediate term momentum is pretty strong. We have on the weekly charts, I'm going to pull up the generic a little bit cleaner. You can see this MACD sell signal. So that obviously is a contrast to the short-term oversold. And then
Yeah.
also you have a DeMark sell signal here, this 13, which, even with today's bullish earnings reaction from NVIDIA, is being confirmed. And when these signals are confirmed, they have implications for about 9 weeks. The last time we had that was here. This 13 took a while to play out, but ultimately did give way to a 9-week down move. And here's hoping we don't have to see this, but it does suggest that this could be just the start really of a corrective phase. Something maybe it looks more like a consolidation phase, and ideally it becomes something that refreshes the long-term uptrend, which still looks pretty healthy to me. But
Is
this is
this a weekly
yeah,
chart
this
here?
is on the weekly bar chart of the S&P futures.
Oh, okay. So if these last on average 9 weeks, what are we 4 weeks into it? So time-wise, we're not even close to halfway through it.
That's right. Well, so the one is actually the start of that 9-week count. So that's the confirmation of the
I
signal.
see.
Just like
Okay.
here wasn't, this is the confirmation signal that gave way to the 9-bar move. So assuming we have this locked in tomorrow, because it can disappear, there's all sorts of qualifiers. But assuming that that's locked in, well, then implications would be exactly what we're taking away from the weekly MACD, which is that this is more than just a brief pullback and something that would at least tell us, I'd say the two takeaways that we've imparted to our clients is, one, to hedge the high beta exposure, which has already shown itself to underperform in this environment, right?
Right.
And two, just to
Right.
hold off on new purchases and to, be diversified.
Okay. All right. So correct. Do you think there's potential for that 6,200 where you have some moving averages and bands coming in? 6,140, I see you have a horizontal line that was a prior all-time high before the April crash. Is that a potential target?
Yeah, so what we're watching, outside of the cloud, which is our initial support gauge,
Yeah.
I'll show you on the futures here, even though I usually look at the cash index. You can see a confluence here of support. So below
Right.
the cloud, this
Yeah.
is our secondary level. For the futures, it's, let's call it 6140 to
Right.
6160 thereabouts. It's based on a Fibonacci retracement and then former resistance back here. The equivalent on the S&P is around 6130 to 6160, so pretty close. And I wouldn't rule it out. I hope it doesn't unfold as such. But when we see risk assets like Bitcoin do what they've done, I don't think you can rule out a pullback of this magnitude.
Okay. Um, are you charting Bitcoin? I mean, do you include any kind of Bitcoin or crypto related assets in your ETF?
We don't include Bitcoin in the TAC ETF. It's not really part of the mandate and
Okay.
would add an unnecessary layer of risk on a very
Yeah.
conservative portfolio. But it is something that we track really closely. We in fact have a weekly report that we publish on Monday afternoons. We've been publishing it since 2019, believe it or not. So we're pretty
Okay.
close to this crypto market and. This is the Bitcoin weekly chart, and there's kind of good and bad news here. One being, the uptrend is intact based on the weekly cloud, and two, that the other good news would be that it's oversold now per the weekly
Yeah.
stochastics. So we moved from a short-term bearish bias this week to a short-term neutral bias
Yeah.
because we
I
had
can
the
see that.
support basically in line and also very short term based on this daily DeMark indicator sign of downside exhaustion. But the
Yeah.
intermediate term momentum is still obviously to the downside. So we can't be convinced that this is like a final corrective low until we have more evidence of that. And we're not quite there yet.
Yeah. I mean, we could rally back to 100,000 and then roll over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
And
go
we've
ahead.
had multiple waves already to this correction. So you can't rule
Yeah.
anything out.
the picture in the dollar has been a little bit fuzzy. I mean, there's been huge moves in US dollar yen. Do you have a view, a dollar view?
We do. And I mean, it is interesting to watch the action here near term. The dollar index is day 2 through its 200-day moving average. That's the
Okay.
purple line.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
But for those that know the DeMark indicators, you can see there's a 12 here, and that would be ranging to a likely sell signal tomorrow or sometime probably next week. And guess what? The last signal was here on the buy side. So it does,
Wow.
suggest that the
Yeah.
up move might be overdone. So for those who are trading it closely, I probably wouldn't chase this breakout and just let that pullback, that first pullback unfold on the back of it, because I think that the DeMark indicators would suggest that we do see that. But what's so fascinating, I think, for the dollar index is more long term. We've featured a monthly
Yeah.
chart more
The
recently.
big trend line that
Isn't
it's
that
holding.
interesting? Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, look at this, which is the monthly stochastic upturn pending at the close of November, and that's really suggestive that the low that was recently put in place is a major low for the dollar. It doesn't mean it runs away from us, but it certainly is meaningful when you look back at history, and these oversold upturns tended to give way to pretty prolonged, albeit at times gradual types of up moves.
It's interesting, Katie, because I watch a lot of videos. I don't have a life, so I noticed Brent Johnson, who's famous for the milkshake theory, his convictions building about king. He shows the dollar as a king and the other currencies as paupers. So I don't know what conditions are going to drive the dollar liquidity issues. The repo market, there are dollar shortages. Not quite sure what would drive it. Do you have a view on yields? Maybe the answer is in
I
yields.
I know, and yields have been sort of confusing to me
So,
too.
yeah,
The way I feel is that usually when I find myself as confused as I am by the action and yields, it's a trading range. And so,
okay, yeah,
because it's not really assuming a strong directional bias. And that's where we are when you look at this zoomed out monthly chart of the 10-year yields. I mean, this is
yeah.
a pretty well-defined triangle formation. I
That's a
thought it was
great
breaking,
look.
last month, and
Yeah,
it's kind of held. But look at these longer-term gauges; they would suggest that we'll see really more of the same kind of sideways to lower action, perhaps,
okay,
within this context. So we're taking more of a neutral long-term bias with a slight downward bias on those indicators. And then there's contrasting indications from the weeklies and the dailies, where here's on the weekly, we have the stochastic still pointing higher. You can see this overhang of resistance becomes pretty
yeah,
strong, 4.2 to about 4.3 based on some other metrics. But then, you contrast that with this, which is the daily. And I think the daily looks lower, right? You have this sort of negative divergence in the daily stochastics, and you have the
yeah,
cloud resistance. So we have like dueling indications across time frames, and that is
yeah.
something that tends to happen in ranges. So that's
Okay,
where my head is right now, is really more of a neutral overall bias, that maybe it just does more of the same kind of middling with a slight lower bias over the coming months.
okay. I know that you were long had some gold in your fund for quite a while. I'm assuming you still do, but do you believe we've entered a corrective period in gold that could last maybe a few months or so? Some Ellioticians are saying we completed wave three and now we're in a wave four pullback before the next wave to the upside.
Oh yeah, and I don't track the Elliott waves personally, but we
Yeah,
still do have a position. It's just over 8% in the TAC ETF, but that's a very long-term sort of input that we're using for TAC. From a
Right.
short-term perspective, you can see that the steep up move has given way to a consolidation. It's
Yeah.
not at all worse than what we saw back here. And in fact, I loved how gold, even though it was this prolonged range,
Yeah.
never broke the cloud. And so,
No.
and you can see the cloud is quite thick and it starts to rise. So we feel pretty good that this eventually resolves to the upside and refreshes the uptrend. We don't have any positive catalysts, really, nor any negative catalysts at this time. We had a negative catalyst here in terms of the DeMark signal and
Yeah.
some downturns, but now it's really more of a neutral bias with this decent support gauge. There is also a gap that we're watching back here. This is 39.27. You can see that seems to hold some relevance as well. So we feel pretty good about it, albeit perhaps not that actionable right now.
Okay. One of our attendees is asking what slow stochastic parameters you use.
This is the 1233 slow stochastic, and it's
Okay.
not because it's the end all be all, but my
Yeah.
mentor used to use the same, so it's just what I got accustomed to using.
Yeah, we're all creatures of habit. And once you put those MAs up, you hardly ever change them
I
your whole
know.
career. Anything in the, a lot of people are saying that the commodities market, even outside of metals, um, are embryonic and coming out. I mean, there's been things in grains.
Yeah.
Natural gas has been performing, even though WTI hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
Do you have your eye on any commodity indexes or any
Yeah.
sectors in the commodity? Um,
We're
in the
somewhat constructive and really across the board. In fact, yesterday in our morning research, we highlighted this, which is DBA.
Okay,
And
agriculture.
the long-term setup looks pretty ominous. Like this range is a distribution phase,
Oh,
but you can see that as it's come down, there's a DeMark signal, and it obviously has support nearby with an oversold reading. So that has us intrigued. We have also on the daily chart with this corrective phase in DBA, which is agricultural commodities, of course,
hmm
you see the 12 towards a 13 buy. So the DeMark indications are there to suggest that this down move is overdone. So
okay,
if people are willing to, counter trend the setup here, I think it might be worth a try. Just with a tight stop loss. And what we like about things like DBA is that it gives us diversification from equities, right? From
okay.
the risk assets broadly where they're so correlated, especially on the downside. You can find some different setups within the commodities complex to take advantage of. We are more constructive than not on both natural gas and crude oil. We feel
Okay.
that, their sort of consolidation is healthy for different reasons. So for nat gas, we had a breakout and now it's just digesting its gains. This digestion should persist for a couple weeks, given the loss of
Yeah.
short-term momentum in 13. Conversely, crude oil has come down to support. It seems to be making a higher low. And
Yeah.
once it can get more decisively through its 50-day moving average, we feel that presents an upward catalyst into at least like the mid 60s range where things start to look a bit better. The 200 days around 64 and a half.
Okay. Anything else that you're paying attention to that's important that I may have forgotten to ask you about?
Well, I think the VIX is kind of interesting and is always on our radar, not
Okay.
just as a sentiment gauge, but because I think it's moved into a higher volatility cycle. And you can see it
Okay.
here. This is the weekly VIX chart, and you see the weekly MACD has risen into positive territory, which of
Yeah.
course is a challenge for the market. And this comes after a fairly prolonged low volatility phase, right? So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a near-term negative. In fact, of course, we do expect more out of this NVIDIA bounce into next week. but it does tell us that the uptrend is probably not going to be quite as clean, I guess, as it was off the April low, and that we can expect more choppiness, just more ups and downs as we come into Q1.
Yeah, we were making higher lows with successive new all-time highs in
Hmm.
S&Ps for a few months before we came out of the hole.
Yeah.
And that pullback into last week was, pretty interesting level that it held just out of the gun. Do you think we could make a move towards 40 or so if we break your cloud support? That's going to be the key on the S&Ps.
Yeah, I think it was meaningful what we saw last week in terms of
Yeah,
the impact on the indicators and on the VIX as well. So would agree with that. And the other point I would make is that there is an adage, sell in May and go away.
yeah,
Well, it would have been a pretty horrible year for that, and
right.
and this is why we don't rely on seasonal phenomenon. And there's no real volatility August into September either. And I don't think that makes a comment necessarily on November and December, but it does tell us that, make a note of these seasonal influences, but don't use them necessarily as a sole investable, takeaway.
Yeah, I was being interviewed last Friday by Maggie, and she talked
Good.
about an analyst who said that people were buying the market on the close on Friday because Mondays were generally an update. I said,
Oh.
I can't trade on that. You know, this Monday was
Until
not
it's not right.
right like that, like this Monday. So, if they bought it Friday and didn't get out in Asia, they didn't have a good week this week. So,
Well,
uh,
that's a sure way to make for a stressful weekend.
yeah. So, well, some people can't relax unless they have something to worry about.
Yeah, I
You
get
know.
it. Get it.
Anyway, Katie, so why don't you tell people how they could get into your ETF and besides following you, the letter you were talking about that you put out, do retail traders have access to it? What does it
Of
cost?
course, yeah. The easiest way to reach us is actually through our website. So
Okay,
Fairlead
fairly.
Strategies here, you can just go in and request a trial. So a free trial through
Okay,
this link here. It has all the information you
nice.
need about subscriptions. And the ETF is available most everywhere. So just type in TAC or TACK and you can access it that way.
Okay, well, there you go, everyone. If you're looking for someone to oversee a portion of your retirement account or your spec account, this could be a great option because everything you hear Katie say, she executes in that ETF. So
Thank you.
definitely Katie is a voice of reason when things are getting kind of kooky. And I really want to thank you, Katie, for coming here all these years and
Thank you, Dale. No,
edifying.
I always enjoy it.
Yes, thank you for edifying us again today. I
Of course.
have a few pearls from you that are going to help me next week.
Good. I'm glad to
Oh,
hear it.
all right, Katie
Enjoy your
Stockton,
Thursday.
everybody. One of the best out there and has one of the best demeanors for communicating market ideas, in my humble opinion. Thank you,
Thank you,
Katie.
Dale. Thank you.
All right, so that's a wrap, everyone. Follow Katie at Stockton Katie on X, and then you'll be able to, go to Fairlead and take a trial and include her in your intelligence gathering. Elite technician, in my opinion. And remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings, everybody. And we'll see everyone to wrap the week tomorrow. Adios. You're welcome, everyone. And thanks again, Katie. There you go. She left her